However, today we've come here to hear from an individual, Isaac Bouckley, about who he is and what he has accomplished. And I'll try not to duplicate anything that he is about to say, but I think it's important that we know a little bit about this individual who was born in the area, raised in the area, learned his skills and crafts in the area. And just to give you some idea of what this young man has accomplished, let me just run through a few of the things. In 2011, he was named Male Paraswimmer of the Year by Swim Ontario. At the Paralympic trials in Montreal this past spring, Isaac's highlights included second in the 200-meter individual medley behind Cobourg, who claimed a world record, and bronze medals in the 100-meter breaststroke, 100-meter freestyle. He is a member of the Northumberland Aquatic Club and swims, as he mentioned in the video, at the Jack Berger Sports Complex in Port Hope. In 2011, Isaac won 3 individual gold medals at the CASA Championships representing Port Hope High School. In April, at the Can-Am International Para Swim Meet at the University of Minnesota, Isaac placed 3rd in the 50-meter freestyle, 3rd in the 100-meter freestyle, and 4th in the 400-meter freestyle. And finally, in August, he represented Canada at the Pan-Pacific Para-Swimming Championships in Edmonton, where he placed 4th in the 400-meter freestyle, achieving a time standard that allowed him to go to the Paralympics in London this past year. And obviously, just to achieve that level of excellence is dramatic. But when he went to London, he participated in 7 events, and in 6 of those events, he had personal bests. And I don't know what more you can ask of someone than to be able to achieve results like that. So let us now hear from this young man, who has obviously provided us with a lot of inspiration because he's had to overcome difficulties, and he's never let it hold him back. So would you please welcome Isaac Bouckley.
Thanks, Paul. That was a really flattering introduction. So I'm just going to start with telling you guys a little bit about who I am and how I got started in swimming. So when I was born, I had a club foot, which it's really not that serious now because we do have a surgery that helps correct it. But the surgery, if it doesn't go 100% correctly, can have consequences. And when they went to do surgery on my leg, they realized that it was a little bit worse than they thought it was. And the surgery involves they do it when you're like newborn, like 2 months, and they cut into your leg and they take, because the original issue is that the muscles on the inside of your leg are too short, so your foot ends up kind of twisted. So what they do is they take the muscles, and some of them they can stretch out or extend, and other ones they have to take out completely. So when they went in, they took out some of the muscles, which for a while left me unable to walk. Like, I didn't walk until I was like probably 2 years old. It was a little longer than it should have been, which of course that left me a little bit slow in developing. And even afterwards, when I really started to develop, I couldn't participate in sports like I wanted to. Like, I wanted to play hockey. But, you know, because everybody plays hockey around here, you know, that's what we do. But I couldn't skate because it was really bad for my leg, and I just didn't have the strength. And I wish it had been something that it was like, you can regain that strength, but it was only to a certain extent. You know, like, no matter what I do, I can't get that leg as strong as my good leg. So hockey wasn't an option. Soccer wasn't really an option. And I needed to find a sport that that would allow me to, you know, stay in shape and I could, you know, play a sport, because obviously I wanted to do something. But there wasn't a lot that I could do with my legs, and there wasn't a lot that could be high impact, just because with the lack of muscle around my bone, there was a large risk of stress fractures. So it had to be something that was low impact. And my mom used to swim for Laurentian University, and she suggested swimming. I was like, oh, sounds like not a bad idea, because I was always a reasonably strong swimmer. I hadn't really thought of it as a sport, you know, it was like swim lessons kind of. So when I first got started, I was just kind of doing it for fitness, and I just kind of got involved, and you know, I was swimming as able-bodied, but I don't want to say I was having a hard time, but because I wasn't able-bodied and everybody else was, it was a little hard for me to compete with everybody else. But my coach on NORAC, he, after a while, he really noticed, like, oh, you know what, I think you could probably get involved in paraswimming. And of course, I had no exposure to paraswimming at this point at all, or even parasport at all. So I wasn't even sure what that was. I was like, whoa, like, what do you mean? You mean like all the guys in wheelchairs? I'm not in a wheelchair, I can't do that. But he was like, no, I'll show you a video, because the man they mentioned earlier, Benoit Hyo, he used to swim with Eric, and they know each other. So he was like, no, I'm pretty sure Benoit Hyo, he's got the same thing as you, so if he can do it, surely you can. And I was like, oh, well, maybe. So he got us lined up to go get classified in Montreal. So we went to a classification thing, and they said, yes, you know what, you can do paraswimming. And at that point I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But you know, I don't want to say I wasn't that into swimming at the time, but you know, I had other things that I was doing at that point still, and it wasn't my main sport or anything. And I wasn't serious about it, you know, like I wasn't highly competitive. But after that, actually, funny story. So when I went classified, there was a swim meet that goes along with the classification, because they do like I don't want to say a mass classification, but they do a whole bunch of swimmers over a couple of days, and then they have a swim meet for all those swimmers. And I went, and I was swimming 2 events at that swim meet, and I got disqualified in both my events. It was embarrassing, but it was good because it really opened my eyes. I was like, you know what, this is something I could actually be pretty good at this. So after that, I got a little bit more serious about swimming, and I really started to get into it. And I qualified for a swim meet called the Can-Ams, which is really, it's a competitive swim meet between Canada and America that we hold twice a year, once in Canada, once in America. And it's really a good starting point for all the paraswimmers. And I qualified for that, and that was really how when I went to that, I really got competitive. I was like, okay, you know what, these guys mean business. I need to, if I want to race with these guys, I got to train hard. So I really started to get serious about swimming. And that was probably my first exposure, because when you go to Can-Ams, like really, any swim meets before that, it's like a couple, there's like maybe 2 paraswimmers, you know, there's like one in a wheelchair and then maybe one who's visually impaired or something. So you don't see a lot of them at once, you know, you don't really get exposed to them that much. But when you go to Can-Ams, it's all paraswimmers. So you're looking at like 100, 120 paraswimmers all at the same meet, and it really exposes you to like, wow, there are some real athletes there. Like you see them and they're, because I don't know, before I went, I almost thought like paraswimming was like, it's gonna sound terrible if I'm saying this, but I almost thought it was like subpar. And then you go and you see that and you're like, wow, these guys can really go. Like that guy can't kick and he's still swimming, like his legs are completely useless and he's still swimming as fast as some of the able-bodied guys. Like they're just ridiculous how hard these guys go. So that was really an eye-opener for me, and after that I really started to train hard. And I was able to qualify for the Edmonton Pan-Pacific Championships, which is all the Pacific Rim countries and then South Africa. I don't know why they came, but they were there. So that was a really good meet, and that was my first really international meet, because Can-Ams is kind of like, it's almost like nationals, because America, Canada, we're so close. But that was my first really international meet, and that was my first time representing Canada, and that was a really, really great experience for me. I really started to compete there, and when I went there, instead of me just being like, oh, I should probably start training, I was like, I have trained, and I'm here, and I mean business. And all the other people were like, oh, well, there's this new guy coming in, and he's actually pretty good. So that was good for me. And that led into, because that was the pre-Olympic year, so that was about a year out from London. And at that point I still hadn't qualified for the London Games. I didn't have any qualifying times. If I kept swimming the same speed, I wouldn't have been able to go. But when I went to Edmonton, I swam fast enough that I had qualified for London, which was a big deal for me because although you actually have to go to the trials and qualify there, I was like, now I know I can do that time. I'm definitely going to be able to do it. So that was encouraging for me, and I think that really helped me out that year getting into trials. And then of course I went to trials, and I training into trials was difficult, you know, because everybody's nervous. And you can feel the atmosphere when you go to the meets, you know, because you go to the meets with all the other people who want to qualify, right? Because it's a competition to be on the team. And all of us are going there, and we're all really nervous, because every single person wants to be on the team, but you know that only a couple of them are actually going to be on the team. So, you know, you're scouting all the competition at all the meets. You're like, oh, that guy swam a really fast time there. Uh-oh, that might not be good for me. You know, you're looking at that, and it's kind of nerve-wracking the couple months leading into trials. And then when I went to trials, I had just switched teams because I was having some troubles there with my team. So I had just switched teams, and I was really nervous going in because I had no idea how I was going to do with the new team. But I ended up doing really, really well, which was good. I qualified in 3 different events, which you only really need to qualify in 1 to actually be on the team, but I qualified in 3, just to be sure. And that was good because it allowed me to swim lots of events in London if I wanted to. And then it kind of, from there it spun completely out of control. Because once you're on the team, they want to make sure that you're ready to go. And from there, there's training camps in Arizona twice in the middle of my grade 12 year. That was inconvenient, you know, because I'm trying to balance studying and school, studying and swimming. And I'm away for a month here and missing for a couple weeks there. It made it really difficult. But so we went away for a month. And I think part of the reason they had those training camps was you don't really know the team. You know, like you know who's on the team, but you don't train with them on a daily basis, right? Like they're not all from, you know, the Toronto area. They're from all over the country. So a lot of them you've maybe met once, but you don't really know them. And gathering them all together and putting them in a training camp atmosphere really helped to, you know, make friends on the team, so that when you are in London, if you want someone to talk to, you have friends on the team instead of having a whole bunch of new acquaintances. So we went to Arizona once, then we took a couple weeks of just training back with your home club, and then we went to Arizona again, which was good. And then we went to Italy. We finally shipped off. That was the pre-Olympic staging camp, you know, where you're in the right time zone, you know, you're ready to go. It's just the final preparations. So we prepared a little bit in Italy, and then we finally went into London. And, you know, they talk to you a little bit beforehand about what it's going to be like, but they can't really do a good job. It's one of those things, they can't really describe it, because it's just so different. Like they tell you, oh, it's going to be a completely different atmosphere, you need to be ready for it. It's like, okay. And then you finally get there and you're like, whoa, this is a really big deal. Because all the swim meets I'd been to before that, they were a big deal. There was a lot of good swimmers there. They were very professional, very official. And then you get to the Olympic Games, and it's a whole other level, you know, because everybody in the world is there. It is the biggest, obviously it's the biggest swim meet that anybody can ever go to. So it was, and especially with only having been to one big international meet before that, it was a really big deal for me. And my first event was actually my best event, so that was a little unnerving for me. But I swam well in the morning, and I qualified for finals that night. And I qualified in 8th, so I just scraped in, because there's 8 people to a final. So I just made it in, and honestly I was happy with that. I was like, that's great. If I could take off more time tonight, that's awesome. But unfortunately, my nerves got the better of me, and when I got up to swim, I dove in, and on one of my turns, I got disqualified. And the Paralympics, which was kind of embarrassing. But at the same time, I kind of got all the nerves out all at once, and I still had other good swims on the way. So I swam a couple more events after that, until I got to my 400 freestyle, which is typically one of the events that the swimmers like to play with each other because it's long and no one likes to actually go all out if they don't have to. So going into the last heat of the 400 freestyle, everyone's trying to qualify for finals, and the people have seen the other heats go up, so they know, oh, okay, this is the time I need to do to qualify. So, and people are pretty good at pacing themselves at that point, so everyone was doing a pretty good job of pacing themselves, and they knew what they needed to do to get in, and that's all they were going to do, because at night is when it counts. Unfortunately, I'm a rookie, so I didn't pace myself that well. I qualified 3rd for finals in the 400 freestyle, and I was thinking, oh wow, that's great. I'm in podium contention, you know. I can get a medal. This is going to be great. Everyone else went a lot faster at night. I did not. I went about the same time because that was what I was capable of. Everyone else, you know, they sped up. So that I didn't get a medal, which was, but you know, it's my first time at the games, so I wasn't that bummed out. It was pretty exciting. And then we had the closing ceremonies, which was really exciting because swimmers don't get to go to the opening ceremonies because we swim first thing in the morning the next day, so we want to be well rested. But we've got to go to the closing ceremonies, so that was really exciting. It was a great atmosphere, you know, because everybody's letting loose after like probably 2 years of solid no breaks training, you know. So it's a whole bunch of athletes just letting loose and finally being like, oh, I can rest, you know. So everyone was really excited for that. And then I came back from London, and I kind of expected it to be over, you know, like kind of coming down from a high of the games. But instead, there were parades and public speaking engagements and just like everything. I was just like ridiculously busy, and it was crazy. It was just like hectic for the 2 or 3 weeks after that. And that's actually partially how I got involved with this, I think, is the people who were organizing the ParaSport Games, they noticed that we had a Paralympic athlete in the area, and they got in touch with me, and I was more than willing to help out with something like this because honestly, I'd been to the ParaSport Games before, actually, in Kingston. I think it was in 2008 or 2009, right when I was starting my career. And it's a really good starting point for swimmers and athletes, you know, because there are other things that are higher levels, like Canada Games and stuff like that. But Ontario Games is really where you get your exposure to it, you know, because you need to work your way up. You can't automatically be on a national team. You need to work your way up to that point. And that was my first, I think that was my first actual multi-sport para-only game. So that was a really good experience for me, and I really learned a lot about what a multi-sport games looks like and how they're run. And it was well done. It was a good experience, and I really enjoyed swimming there. And when I heard about the possibility of Northumberland having one, I was like, that would be perfect, because Northumberland is just like the best place to possibly have one. So I really wanted to help out with that. So they got in touch with me, and I helped out with the video, and I helped out with some of the organization and stuff. And it was really something that I think it was good for me to get to help out with this, and I hope that it helped with the bid, and I really hope that Northumberland gets the games, and I think that would be really good because we really have a strong accessibility agenda in Northumberland. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of Zach Andrus. Yeah, some of you guys have.
Yes.
It's nodding. That's good. Yeah. Well, I went to school with him, and he has really been pushing for accessibility in Northumberland, and I think that's really good, and that's something that Northumberland is really strong in, especially for our rural community, because, well, not that cities are that much better, but some cities, you know, have troubles with, are better with accessibility, but not better than Northumberland, because we do have some strong advocates for accessibility in the area, and I think because of that, we've really kept up with the cities, and I think we've even surpassed them. I can't think of anywhere else that has an accessible playground. Like that's pretty good. He did a great job with that, and that kind of thing is exactly what we need in Northumberland. And accessibility is just one of those things that you don't really notice until you actually like really spend a day thinking about it. And when I was in the village, after I finished my last swim, we were just goofing around because they had like rental chairs. So I spent the day in a wheelchair just as a joke. And it was something that once you do it, you're like, wow, that really sucks. You know? Like, even in the village that was supposed to be super accessible, a little hill just throws you completely off. Like, Canada House was at the bottom of a hill, and the food was at the top of the hill. And there's not much that can keep a swimmer away from food. But that hill was making me double think things, you know? I was like, oh man, do I really want to go up that hill? It's going to be so much work.
I thought you were talking about the hill in Port Hope for a second there.
Oh. Yeah, but no, Port Hope, it's hills all over. I can't imagine. I'd die. But yeah, just a little hill and it throws you off. And it's the same thing, like stairs make for a huge hassle. And that's something that you don't consider until you actually spend a day in a wheelchair. And then afterwards you really spend time thinking about it. And being around all the athletes in wheelchairs and stuff, I was like, man, these people really have to put up with a lot, you know, like it's really, you know, I don't want to say it sucks to be them, but you know, it kind of does sometimes, you know, and I think it's our responsibility to help make things easier for them, because they already have to put up with so much that I think they should really, you know, putting a ramp up to a doorway is really not that big of a deal, you know, it's the least we can do, and I think that's something that London did a really good job at, and I think Northumberland does a good job of that. And I think the ParaSport Games will really bring even more awareness to that and help out with our accessibility in the entire county. And I think that'll make for good games. Paul? Kind of out of stuff to talk about. Yeah, come on up.
Such a retiring young gentleman. What a personality. It's wonderful to have someone representing us like you, Isaac. It is truly great. Now, do any of you have questions, burning questions that we might be able to have Isaac answer? Yes, Paul.
What's next, Isaac?
Swimming. In 5 weeks, we have World Trials in Minnesota, and that will obviously be the starting point for the Road to Worlds this summer in Montreal. So I plan on trying to qualify there. No guarantees, but you know, it looks pretty good. I think I'll be able to do it. And from there, I'm going to try and do the best I can at Worlds this summer, and that's my immediate goal. But considering I'm still pretty young, I would like to go to Rio. But you know, it's 4 years, it's, well, 3 almost, 3.5. But it's a long ways away, and I got to plan for short-term goals before I start planning that far ahead.
I think all of us would love to go to Rio. But to compete is just absolutely exceptional. Any other questions? Yes?
Go ahead. Me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I was just wondering, when you went to Arizona, was that in the winter time?
One was over March.
Perfect.
Yeah. And one was in the summer.
And what was it like down there?
Oh, well, we spent most of the time at high altitude in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
So it actually, the weather wasn't, you know, it was warmer, but it was just a nice climate. It was really nice. And then we did a couple days down in Phoenix, and those were brutal. Exercising in extreme heat is really unpleasant, and I don't ever want to have to repeat that.
Did you find those areas, the buildings down there, accessible, or do you find they're a little more behind us in regards to accessibility?
Well, where we were in Flagstaff, everything was pretty good. And where we swam in Arizona was selected because it was very accessible. But some of the other places in, see if I lean in close, it makes sound. My bad. I've just been.
Oh, that's good.
That's my bad.
That's okay.
Yeah, some of the other places in Arizona were not as accessible, but because of the way they build there, it's very flat, and they build out instead of building up like they would in some buildings, like in some towns. So it was probably one of the better places, but we did find that Italy was really bad for accessibility.
Not bad.
Yeah, our actual village that we were staying in and training in was all right, but we did a day visit to Venice, and Venice was not accessible at all. But it's not really their fault because it's such an old city. You can't really hold them responsible for that. But there are some places that are better than others for sure.
I was very interested when Paul mentioned how you had, out of the 7 races or events you entered in London, a best time of your personal best. I mean, that's what, when you look to things and you hear the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games, that's all you're trying for, and the medal is a bonus on top of everything else. So you described so beautifully what happened in the one race, your first one. You said, yeah, I did it, I'm going to be third. Beautiful, beautiful story. But after that, you put your mind to it, and you still were able to concentrate. I'm just wondering, you did that on your own? Was there staff available to work with you on that? How did that come about?
Well, they do have a staff available to help. They have a sports psychologist who comes with the team to help everybody get through their races and stuff, which is important because a lot of people really need that. And I probably could have used it for my first race, where I got disqualified, but after that, I don't know, I felt like I kind of just got down to, okay, it's just a swim meet. It's the same as any other swim meet, I'm just here to get best times. Sure, there are a whole bunch of people in the crowds, but just, tune that out and focus on your lane, 50 meters ahead of you, just focus on that. Everything else is not important. So, I kind of did it mostly on my own. I didn't really speak to the sports psychologist. But my coach, for sure, definitely helped with guiding me through that. And that first race probably helped me I think I got all the nerves out all at once, and that kind of helped me through the rest of the races.
Thank you.
Good question, Ron.
Can I ask, is there much financial funding available for you people?
Yeah.
How have you found out about it?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of funding available. Like Arizona was all paid for both times. Obviously, Italy and London was all paid for, so they take care of stuff like that. And they also provide, I think once you reach a certain level, it's called senior carding. As an athlete, they will give you a wage every month. Now, it doesn't completely cover all of your expenses, obviously, but it really helps, and that's the kind of thing that helps put you through school and stuff like that, because a lot of the athletes are pretty young, so we don't have jobs or anything, and we need the money so that we can train and focus on training, and they have a lot of money available for stuff like that, which is good.
That's good.
How old are you now? Are you still continuing your education, or are you able to do that and train at the same time?
I am in school right now. I'm 18 years old, and next year I plan on going away to university, even though this is kind of like my victory lap. I probably should have gone away to university this year. I had a busy year last year, and it kind of slowed me down a little bit, and I didn't want to miss the first couple weeks of school going away to a university, because I felt like that might mess up my grades or something. So I'm still in high school, but next year I plan on moving to Montreal and going to school there.
Can you tell us, Isaac, how much you train on a typical day versus how many hours when you're getting ready for a competition?
Well, you're kind of, sounds weird to say it, but you're always getting ready for a competition. You get 2 weeks after, well, I guess it depends on the size of the competition. But after a big competition like Pan Pacifics, I took a week and a half, almost 2 weeks break where I didn't swim at all. And after London, I took a little bit longer than that. I took 3 weeks just to relax and recover. But other than those weeks, you're swimming all the time. And I swim, let me look at my schedule, twice a day, almost every day, except for Sunday, which I don't swim at all. And Wednesday I only swim in the morning. So, and it's about 2 hours each time that I swim. And sometimes I also do dry land, so I go to a gym and work out. But it's a lot of time, I guess.
Well,
Yes.
I was going to say, when you swim, would it be early in the morning before you go to school?
Yeah, I swim once in the morning before I go to school and once right after school. And then I do homework and then I sleep. And that's pretty much all I do.
That's why.
But I swim at 5:15 in the morning till 7:15 usually. So that's a pretty big time commitment in the morning. And you need a lot of sleep because you need to go to bed early to get up at 5:15.
Are you on a special diet?
Kind of, sort of. I don't have specific things that I eat, but I do watch what I eat. I try not to eat a lot of cheese or butter, or just general things that you think are unhealthy, like ice cream. I don't drink any pop, but I don't really have like a set specific diet. I generally just think, oh, what would be best for me to eat, and I do take a lot of protein powders and other assorted drugs. Illegal drugs, of course. Just I've got a wide collection of like jars with powder that I just put into water before I go out for the day. So I've got to take that on a daily basis, and I have to manage that, which kind of I'd say that's pretty much my diet. It's managing all my powders.
And were you subject to drug testing?
Yes, I've been drug tested once. But it was actually by the Canadian team. They just tested me just to be sure. Somehow I've managed to evade getting dope tested by the actual dope testing agency that's in charge of it. I don't really know why they haven't dope tested me. I feel like maybe I should be offended. I haven't been dope tested by the actual agency yet, so well, maybe I'm due. But yeah, Canada dope tested me just because they want to make sure that their athletes are clean before they send them to represent Canada. So I have been dope tested. I think I can. They didn't send me a letter or anything. So.
Yes.
When you go off to school next year in Montreal, will you swim club or you swim for the school? And if you swim for the school, what kind of opportunity is there if there or not?
Well, I know some of the schools are very accepting of para-swimmers. Other ones aren't as much. It really depends on the coach, I think. And the school that I'm planning to go to, the current coach used to coach para-swimmers, like big time. He actually coached Benoit Huot. So that's kind of the reason why I want to go there, because I know that he'll be accepting and that he'll really help with the training and focus on training para-swimmers. But of course they do have to also coach the school team. And yeah, I probably would be swimming for the school, but it's kind of complicated. To get certain funding, you have to be registered with a swim team, not a school team. So I may register with a swim team in Montreal as well, but I probably won't be training them.
What's the school you're going to in Montreal?
I'd like to go to University of Montreal, but if not, I'm also looking at McGill and Concordia.
What are you studying?
Well, at University of Montreal, I would be doing an année de transition, so it's like a transition year, because they have the cégep system in Quebec. So that would be, it's almost like a general first year, it's kind of hard to explain, but then after that I'd be looking into mathematics or finance, I guess. It really depends.
I was going to ask you to talk about your coach. Do you choose your coach or are they appointed to you?
Well, you choose your club. Oh, you mean at the games?
Yes.
They're appointed to you, but if there are certain coaches that, because some people prefer certain coaches, and if you really put in a strong argument for, I would like to have this coach, you can get it switched. but for the most part, they are appointed. But of course, you can, whenever you're at home, you can choose your coach just by choosing your club. So.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other para-athletes that you've inspired in the Northumberland area that we should be watching out for?
There is one actually. Her name is Riley Bird. She's also a swimmer. I don't know much about sports other than swimming because other than multi-sport games, they don't really interact. But Riley Bird is an up-and-comer. She swims for Northumberland Aquatic Club. And I think she's only classed for breaststroke. But she's quite good at breaststroke. So in the next couple of years, she's a potential candidate for national teams and things like that. I'm not sure if I inspired her, but because because my coach was exposed to more paraswimming, he was able to say, you know what, you might be eligible too, and got her involved. So.
Any other questions? Seeing none, may I say thank you, Isaac. I mean, it's just been terrific. What a wonderful representation. It's amazing to get a young man like that with a personality that just bubbles, and he's so talented at the same time. I mean, all of us are really proud of you, Isaac. Now we're drawing this meeting to a close. But I want to say that Isaac will be around if you want to go and speak with him personally, get an autograph or a photograph with him. And if you want some of the things that he can't drink, and some light refreshments over here, please take advantage of them. And unless there's anything else, does anyone have any other questions for today? Yes.
Is there an update on the application for the ParaSport?
The only update is we're all sitting down waiting.
Okay.
And you know, we're obviously still hopeful,
yeah.
But you know, it's one of those situations where we don't have any influence from here on, and so we just have to sit back, relax, and we're either in or we're not. And but as soon as we do get word, we will make sure that each and every one of you hears about it loud and clear. I was actually out at a hockey game this week, and a person approached me and said, "Oh, by the way, I want to volunteer to help you if you get the games." And I said, "Oh, do you have a background?" Oh, and she went on to tell me all about her background in working with para-athletes. And my goodness, I mean, there is a buzz out there, and so we're all really getting warmed up to this idea. And let's just hope that we are successful. I think we have got a lot to offer, and hey, if we don't get it this time, let's go back and try again. I mean, you know, you don't be turned off by a little rejection if that happens. But right now we're positive. We think we put out a very good proposal. We've got excellent facilities, and we've got a great group of people supporting us both financially and as volunteers. So I just think it's a wonderful situation to be in. So we're all happy. We're looking forward, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.